and good evening, wherever you may be joining us from around the world. Thanks for joining us. It's for another set of six. And today I am visiting our friends in the US, talking to Kaitlin Sigado and OJ Hawea. How are you guys? Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
No worries at all. Fantastic. And like I said, we've had a few sets of six so far: South Africa, China, England, and now the US. So let's get it underway. Kaitlin, just want to let the people out there know a little bit about you. How have you come to join us in our sport, and what's your background?
I have a rugby background. So I started playing rugby in 2011 and then joined Touch in 2016. And shortly after that, in 2017, 2018, kind of raised my hand and told OJ that I have a passion for youth development and that I'd like to focus on that for USA Touch.
Fantastic. And OJ, what about yourself, mate? What's the OJ story?
Coming from New Zealand, you come up with a lot of rugby and touch around. When I was at high school, I think we were still playing seven-a-side touch, but had an experience playing back then a little bit out after high school, and then came over here, lost touch with it, and then got caught up with some cousins from up in Oregon who took me along to a nationals, and from there just stayed around the game and got involved with helping to build it over here since probably 2008.
Oh, very good. So, once a touchy, always a touchy, mate. You find your way back in, and now they won't let you go.
Yeah, I've been trying for a little bit to get out of it.
A man of many talents. The work you do over there obviously is very well known, mate. So, I think since you've been in charge, you've taken the sport to a whole different level over there. So, on behalf of the sport, thanks very much for that. Because, the sport, needs strong nations, and the US has certainly stepped up in that position over the last few years. So, congratulations for that, mate. Everybody knows right around the world at the moment, there's a bit of a shutdown with, the pandemic that we all face. How's that impacted on touch across the US, OJ?
Obviously, like everybody, we've shut down completely. There's no touch going on anywhere. We can't have gatherings of more than a few people. But we haven't stopped working. I think what it's given us an opportunity to do is fix some of our back office stuff, put plans together with a lot more meaning behind them, fix some of our relationships that we've been working on, growing the sport. It's given us an opportunity to kind of slow down and focus on those things. But everyone's keen to get back out there. But we've appreciated the downtime and haven't really sat back and stopped working on what we want to do moving forward.
Yeah, and we see on the news over here in Australia that most of the states are starting to open up again and take away some of the restrictions. So, what sort of plans does Touch have to help the touch community, or you guys as an association have to help the touch community come out of it?
So what we've been doing is actually waiting until the federal government and some of the local governments took the stay-at-home order away. And that was around the 15th of this month. And then the plan was then to start to announce what we want to do while still being very wary of what people's appetites might be to get out there. We still want to host a tournament this year. We want to do some high-performance IDing and camps getting ready for the next tournament, because the reality is, come the end of the year, we're 2 years out from another World Cup cycle, and for the juniors, only 6 months away. So we still want to get to that, but it's got to be based around what's practical and what people want to do. So we've talked to a couple of our clubs, and we'll be making an announcement earlier next week about what our plans are, and then what happens if those plans aren't able to happen because of federal lockdowns or federal changes in the way that things are going to be. But we think we have a good plan moving forward. I think it allows us to get into August or even into early September while still being able to make changes. And, we've got a big country, so we can still move things around and be a little bit fluid on how we're going to move forward. But yeah, we've got plans to do a couple of things this year and prepare moving forward into the juniors next year in the World Cup and another 3 years.
And what does the touch football community look like in America? Is it are there a couple of particular strongholds, or is it spread right across the continent?
Yeah, it's a West Coast sport at the moment. It's very, very strong on the West Coast. Always has been. Traditional clubs being Houston, Portland, San Diego. Recently you've seen the likes of LA and New York really start to, grow in their areas. But we're trying to grow in other places. Florida's starting to come along. We've got other places in Texas opening up. We've got some other ideas where we want to, get Kaitlin moving with the youth. But yeah, right now it's traditionally West Coast. It's been very, very strong on the West, and they've dominated not just results but the growth over the last little while.
Fair enough. And you've had a lot of support from the greater touch community. I see some Aussie coaches, some New Zealand coaches and players have been over as well and given you some support in those areas.
Oh yeah, massive support. I think the first event I ever went to, I just heard about the tournament. They were having a small kind of gathering in San Diego. So I'm in Phoenix, just down the road. I drove down with some of our young kids, and George Albert Junkie was there, and then we've met with Pete Walters, Gavin Shuker's been over, Pat Carroll. I mean, nameless people have come over and helped us with developing the sport. So I know it looks like we've done a lot over here, but without those people, there's no way we would have been able to do anything. Just keeping us engaged with the sport, and in some cases keeping us up with the trends or inventing stuff for us. I mean, I didn't even know that there were attack plays when I first started playing. The first nationals I went to, we didn't know what an attack play was, and then you start talking to people, and then other people come in and start showing you different things, and all of our stuff has been kind of grown around people coming in and helping us. So we're really appreciative of all those people who have been part of it.
Yeah, that's what the touch community is all about, helping out each other. And there's plenty of people putting their hands up, mate. So if you ever need a hand, just shoot it out there, and somebody will pick it up from any country around the world, mate. We've been there, done that, and we like to share the experiences that we pick up on that journey. So Kaitlin, your OJ mentioned there about youth development. The 2018 Youth World Cup in Malaysia was a fantastic tournament. US teams were there.
Yeah.
What plans do you have to build on those results?
So really excited to build on what we took away from the 2018 World Cup. We've always had a high school division. We've recently started having a high school division at our nationals to grow that youth program. And starting next year in 2021, we'll actually move to have a junior nationals as its own solo event. So looking to host in June 2021, the first junior nationals. Just making it in the summer will really allow us to focus more on youth and gain participation in that area. And then the additional development will come from our senior players getting more opportunity with coaching and referee development to help grow in those areas as well.
Yep. And do you find it's a family sport over there? Do you see the parents bringing youngsters along and then the next generation coming from within the group?
I think it's a mix. A lot of it stems from players I know that also coach high school rugby teams as well. So I personally, that's how I brought along a team in 2017 was myself and another high school rugby coach here in Oregon put together a youth team with a mixture of our high school teams. And I know that Seattle's done the same thing with the area, but something like San Francisco, their team has been a little younger in the past, and that's seeing that more family style touch. So it's a mixture of both, really.
There you go. So how do you see the overall growth of touch heading? Where are the biggest growth opportunities, and how do you think you might be able to tap into that?
I think our biggest growth opportunities are U15 through U22, and trying to tap into the school system and getting more growth through that area. If we've had some college teams in the past, come along to nationals, which has been really beneficial as well. And so that area is a main focus of trying to get more colleges and high schools attending these national events.
There you go. So are there any specific challenges that you guys face in relation to youth development, and what sort of plans do you have to overcome them?
I think our biggest challenge is just how widespread we are. This summer, I was really excited. We were planning to hold 4 different youth camps across the country. And we had some clubs that were really excited about engaging and running those camps for us in their areas. And unfortunately, with the restrictions and everything that's going on, we had to call off those camps. But it's also sparked an interest of moving towards technology and really allowing technology to be the forefront. If you followed our Facebook page at all, Adrienne Whitty, our women's program director, produced a series of 19 COVID videos, so coaching videos around key actions and growing those and really focusing on key actions that will help holistically improve our game throughout the next couple of years.
Yeah, technology's really come to the fore during this time. There's lots of fantastic videos going around from a coaching perspective, from a development perspective, and for anybody that's out there watching, go to any of the nation's Facebook or social media pages, and you'll get plenty of coaching resources from there. OJ, back to you. Technology has been a real focus of Touch USA. We saw both the Youth World Cup and the Touch World Cup, the technology that you had. What was it? What were you using over there, and what advantages were you looking to get out of it?
We used a few different programs. We had our video run through Sports Code, so we were coding video through that program. It's widely used over here in the US and other places, but that was through a partnership with USA Rugby. We were able to get that software, and then we distributed that through Huddle, which is their distribution network. We were using different GPS units as well to help with managing athlete load. And then we had some recovery pieces through RP Sports and some other pieces that would help with our recovery. And I think the way we look at it, and the way we have to look at it from the United States, is we have to be better at getting better. And so all of this was geared around that, is how do we analyze what we're doing and not really try and make massive jumps in our development, but how do we improve those little things that are creating us problems in competing on the micro level. Like Kaitlin mentioned, our key actions was a big focus of our World Cup, and we were trying to cut down on the errors. So in looking at using technology to support that, it was about being able to show athletes, look, this is where you want to be, this is your body position, those sorts of things. And we were able to really break that down and see a lot of improvement on those key actions over the course of, our 3-year plan heading into the World Cup. And now I kind of use it as an example, but we made probably 7 unforced errors in 2015 in the first half, my men's open side.
Yep.
Unforced errors, and we didn't make that many in the entire tournament in Malaysia. So that focus around getting better, we just have to be better at getting better to be able to compete. So that was our focus in using technology to do it.
Yeah, that's fantastic, mate. And technology is going to play a part for forevermore, really. And if you're at the forefront of that, and it was plain to see as you made your way around the ground, everybody knew where you were over there in Malaysia with the towers and the cameras, and there was no mistaking the US team. But that's fantastic, mate. And like you said, to get better at the small things, that's something everybody can put on a play. We can go through the structures, but those little points you talk about, just nutting down those unforced errors, can make a massive difference to a team's performance. So, mate, I applaud you for the use of technology. I think you're well at the forefront of that. So it'll be interesting to see where you take us.
Well, yeah, we're interested in that. We're working on some things. We're lucky to partner with USA Rugby in that. The head analyst for the men's 15s team, he's helping us with analysts, and so is their high performance development manager. They're the ones helping us with that, because a lot of those crossover synergies between rugby and touch are going to help. So as Kaitlin builds out, the youth program, then those youth get an earlier touch of the football. What a lot of people don't understand over here is we're not just teaching them a new game. It's a whole, different way of life, whether it's off the field or on the field. The movements are very, very different to what they're used to. Now, we might liken it to football, but touch players' movements are probably more geared to something like basketball. So teaching people from a standpoint of how you move your body over here is something completely different, because they have no reference to rugby or touch at all. So that's why we had to break it back down, and that's where technology's just kind of helped us understand what that looks like and then be able to give immediate feedback. Now, that was a big part about getting that film is, we're sitting in tents showing people what their movement looked like in a certain play. And I think moving forward, we'd like to kind of do that on the sideline if you could, get a person off the field and show, hey, here's what happened. So we might see that at the next World Cup if we can manage it in our budget.
Interesting times ahead, and I think we're all over there in Malaysia. The perfect place to have everybody back to the tent, because no one wanted to go anywhere. Once they were in those air-conditioned tents, you had the captive audience sit down and watch this footage.
Yeah,
it was something else over there. Kaitlin, you played mixed opens. Let's tell us a little bit about your World Cup experience over there in Malaysia.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a really good experience, and like OJ said, the technology was huge. Our team was really spread across the country, and we didn't get to get together much before leading into the World Cup. So training camps beforehand, and then even like a lot of learning throughout the whole tournament. Having that footage available like immediately after the game was just key to pick up on additional places where we can improve, and like places that were breaking down or places that we were successful, and it really helped throughout the tournament. It was a lot of fun and a lot of learning, but it was good.
Yeah, fantastic. And I guess both of you have touched on the relationship you have with rugby over there. Kaitlin, you've come from a rugby playing background to join touch football. Is that where the touch is strongest at the moment? It's based around the rugby communities. Is that the link that you've got, or are we seeing a more prolific spread into those other basketball type sports, or tapping into other sports as well? OJ?
Well, I think when I started, rugby would look at us like, well, what are you doing? There's no such thing as touch rugby.
Yeah.
Obviously growing up where I grew up, the skills are interchangeable, and some of the best athletes in the world that you watch growing up are on the NRL field or on the rugby field doing some great things. So at the beginning, it was a massive bridge there to get that we needed to kind of fill between and kind of make it look like we could help the rugby game out. I know partnering with USA Rugby and especially JD Stevenson's influence in there has helped us to bridge that gap. But I wouldn't say that it's rugby stronghold at all. If anything, it's probably the opposite. I think moving forward, we'll start to see some rugby strongholds get involved in touch football. But at the moment, most of our clubs are based outside of rugby altogether. So they've kind of been people that have, gotten together as families, clubs, whatever it is, and then built from there.
So the player base, I saw there were quite a few of the senior women's, I believe, that were over there in the World Cup had come from rugby teams. Kaitlin, what about your personal story?
So my story, in Portland, I would say that for the women's side of things, it is rugby based, and a lot of our team comes from our either WPL team, which is a women's Premier League team for 15s, or our sevens team. Like I know personally, I started playing touch to get fit for our sevens season. And then found out like touch is a way better game, and it's a lot more fun. And so
most of them do.
Yeah. I think that for Portland, it's definitely something where we find that Rugby is actually what brought a lot of our community together. And then expats who've moved over from New Zealand or Australia. But like I know for other clubs, it's definitely not rugby, and their focus, especially in New York, a lot of those girls come from Singapore. They went to school in Singapore, and they were reconnected and all end up on the East Coast, and so they've like found themselves there, and that's how they've grown their community over there on the East Coast.
Fantastic. Yeah, the Singapore touch community as well is always developing. They've certainly come along in leaps and bounds. So I guess I just want to put it out there to anybody that's watching too. You can ask questions if you want to put your questions in the comments area. We'll put them up at the end. But mate, we talked about footage, OJ. We do have some footage from the last World Cup. We might throw that up there and just we can all have a look at it. The men's open side, there was a particular player, a big-bodied fella that we talked about, but we can see here we've got the mixed on. Let's have a look. Tell us a little bit about.
And this looks like our women's team.
Okay, yeah.
The women's open team.
So women's opens against New Zealand, and I think we're about to see some nice work here in attack. There's the dive over. The referee points to the spot there, mate. So getting one across the line against New Zealand, there would have been celebrations aplenty there.
Oh yeah, anytime you can score against New Zealand or Australia, that's an amazing feat. They're the two best defensive teams in the world. So now that's why our girls are reacting pretty good there. But
that's awesome to see.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So now the USA v Singapore. This is the men's opens, I believe.
This is men's 30s, I believe.
30s? Yeah. 30s. So, yeah. This is the big-bodied fella there.
Who's that? Is that John Tate?
John Tate.
Yeah, it looks like John Tate coming around on that rapper play, getting underneath. Good setup there by Tim. Good ball off the ground by Maddie. Yeah, and John Tate with a step inside, getting down low early.
Good heads-up touch football there from the fella with the ball, but you can see the structures from that aerial view, the structures that you have in place. So you've really, as you said, you've worked hard there on positioning and having players in motion. I remember US touch from a few years ago, mate, looking vastly different now than it used to.
Oh, yeah. Mate, I was playing 2 World Cups ago, so that's how much – we improved. Oh, I was terrible.
Mate, we all have to start somewhere, OJ. Yeah, and that's the thing about touch, mate. You can find a place in touch football. My sister played at multiple World Cups, and she was a much better player than I was. But I, put quite a few extra kilos on over the journey, and found a niche in coaching and I've only missed 2 World Cups out of the total that have been together in some capacity. So touch is a game for participation, and you can find your spot. But yeah, it's amazing to see the difference at all of those World Cups. I remember the 95 World Cup over in Hawaii, the difference from then to now. And mate, I just wanted to point that out there. The fella that scored that try had his foot on the dead ball line.
I think the ball was down earlier. What the refs it looked like. Yes, a lot of our 30s. Our roll ball's gotten significantly better from the first World Cup I went to. But you're right. Everyone's got a place in the game, and I found out after my first World Cup trying to play in one game against South Africa that my best place was helping on the side of the field. So. Having to chase guys like Justin, I'll pass on that and just tell Justin what to do now.
Fair enough. That fella there that just scored has some speed. Yeah. But this was an amazing game. Singapore were up early, and then the US just rolled over the top, kept their composure, good structure, and that's that coaching and that analysis that you talked about. They didn't lose their cool. They just stuck to the plan, and they came to the fore at the end of this one.
Yeah, I remember talking to Dave after this one. He said the same thing. We got behind early, but they stuck to the plan, kept grinding it out, and ground out a good result. So
I remember watching this one live, and it was clear to see that the guys the guys had their structures in place. They had faith in the program, I guess, and just stuck with it. And you could see they tried the same things over and over again. And when they came off, they looked fantastic. But when they didn't come off, they didn't just throw their hands up in the air and say, well, it's not working. They trusted the process and they reaped the rewards here.
Yeah, awesome. Would have been a good game.
Yeah, it was a great game to watch. I remember it well, this one, there on the main stadium. So, mate, I want to talk about, we've got a couple of comments, it looks here. So somebody's watching from Sydney and enjoying the discussion. Is there a large expat representation involved in the sport there?
Yeah, massive. We've got a few Americans here and there, but for large part, the people who are leading clubs and organising are mainly expats. I can't think of one off the top of my head that isn't led by or started from an expat. But yeah, it's all driven from there. We're trying to get Americans to take over. We're making partnerships to do that, and Kaitlin's here. We've got all of our coaching that doesn't come in from overseas. Like we put a call out for coaches for the last World Cup, and we just didn't get anyone over here because everyone wanted to play. But the ones that we're getting from here, they're growing here. They're growing in what we're trying to grow in. They're American based, so we count them as Americans. But yeah, the sport is very, very much expat over here. We're trying to change that.
Yeah, I had a little bit to do with development of the sport over in South Africa. I was the same sort of a model where they used to fly in the coaching staff, and we made it a big thing to coach coaches. So now South Africa are in a position where all of their coaches are homegrown. And the development that people like Labib and Nadima and Sipiwe are doing over there, it's all based on the fact that it started out as the fly-in, fly-out model, but now they've taken ownership, mate, and it's clear to see the rewards that it has for countries like that. And the US, it'll happen. But, like you said, you love the support of the touch community from all around the world.
Yeah, I think that's one of the main big parts around what Kaitlin's talking about with the junior nationals next year, is we're able to take players off the field that are trying to stick around and still play at a Open or a Masters tournament, and say, hey, now it's time to become a coach, and then they'll kind of see how much they like it and maybe start to move into that. But it gives us an opportunity to hold coaching development around that. So. That's why that event is going to be so big for us moving forward.
Yeah, fantastic. And Simon, so that was thanks to Mark Herndon for that question too, by the way. Herndo, thanks for joining us. And Simon in says, the US has always had great athletes, and I'm sure touch will take off massively in the next few years. US Sevens program is a real model of success. How can touch follow in their footsteps?
Kaitlin, you want to try that one?
I think if I were I think we've started to follow in their footsteps of just going back to the key actions. One of the biggest things the Sevens program did 4 or 5 years ago was just focus on basic skills. Everybody needs to know how to tackle. Everybody needs to know how to pass a rugby ball, and that's really what we've taken it back and stripped USA Touch back to. Is everybody needs to know how to hold the ball in 2 hands, how to play the ball with both hands, how to pass, how to dive. And so I think that's kind of the first steps for us, is really nailing those key actions. But then also noticing that key actions are always changing and evolving. And so being able to continue to grow with those steps moving forward, as long as we've got the basics, we can then take off from there.
Yeah, fantastic. And it is clear to see on the international rugby circuit, the US Sevens program in both men's and women's has come along in leaps and bounds. So
definitely.
Yeah, it's been great for that sport, but I think it has some real crossover for touch football as well. Hopefully we can tap into that at some stage. We have another question that came in. And it's one that I was going to throw around anyway, OJ. Mate, we both know it hasn't been decided yet. There's lots of rumours out there about the next World Cups in America. it hasn't been decided, and we both know that. Even the bids haven't gone out yet to ask for venues. But mate, if it was to come to the US, what would it mean to the sports development across the USA, and what can the rest of the touch community expect from a World Cup in the US? Here's a chance to put it out there, mate. Throw it out there. Give us your best.
It would really mean everything. I think we're in the position now. Like you really look at Hawaii in '95. That wasn't really an American event. We didn't run that. It wasn't run and by people who lived here who were going to take the sport, and continue on with it. But we really believe that if we're able to, and we're lucky enough to host a World Cup, that it'll mean the world to us. We'll be able to take the sport to places that it's never been before. Just having that visual on stage here in our own country will mean everything. So, yes, we know it's definitely not decided, but we plan on being in that mix if we can. I think the rumors are they're fierce, so I'm glad you put that to rest. There's nothing out there. We're hearing from people all over the world that, no, it's been decided and here's where it is. And I says, man, that's real news to me. I can't go a month without that conversation, mate. So I'm glad you put that to rest. But that's what it would mean to us. And what can they expect to see? I mean, it's the United States of America. And I know I talk like a New Zealander, but I was born here. I've spent most of my life here. America will put on the best show that it can. And so it'll be good across the board. It'll be great.
Where would you look to host an event like that over there?
Jeez,
throwing it out there now, mate.
Yeah, I can't commit to anything really because it comes down to what you guys want out of the event. Yeah, I know we've been lucky in the past, and I kind of got to put this out there as well, to have an event at Disney. We've been lucky to be there, but that kind of model is priced out of where we can be as a sport. Yeah. So I keep playing the lottery to hope that we can afford to go there, but that's kind of off the boards. But California is a good option. Even Florida has places outside of Disney that would be a great option. Nevada is something that we're toying with as we put together our bid process. Those are the three areas that we're really looking at, trying to find and secure facilities that would meet what we want to do. I think if we get, hey, here's what we want to be as a federation, we're going to take that a step above and say, well, we want to be known for this. So those are the three areas: Florida, California, and Nevada, that we're looking at to potentially put a bid in for.
I think it was a good point you made too. That last one was in Hawaii in '95. Fantastic venue. It was great for everybody that attended, but it wasn't about developing touch in the US. And I think that's the key that you made there. The next one really has to be about US people hosting an event for touch in the US.
Absolutely. We need a 2-year plan heading into that as our World Cup planning. I know this pandemic's kind of slowed everything down, but we had hoped there'd be a decision because we really need to put things in place to, take advantage of that. We need to get serious in our areas. Each area is going to have to step up and get people aware of the sport and saying, hey, look, this is tournaments coming here, and really use that as a platform to bounce up to the next level, to get sponsorship dollars behind the event. So we put in a bid for 19, and kind of came to it and really knew that we weren't ready to do that. Right. We believe 100% that we're ready to really take and make the most of the opportunity if it comes to us.
Excellent. Yeah, well, those the bidding process will go out to tender a little bit later this year, I believe. And, mate, as you said, you're ready to throw your hat in the ring, and we look forward to seeing the bid. And I'm sure people all around the world would love to go to another event in the US. So fingers crossed for you guys that the bid is a strong one. So, Kaitlin, you've spent some time over here on the Gold Coast as well. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I've always wanted to study abroad and never did when I was in college. And playing mixed open at the last World Cup, I got into a really good relationship with my coach, Tristan Mana, and just threw it out like, hey, I want to come over and I want to learn touch from an organizational standpoint, a growth personal standpoint, like with my game and also with my coaching. And he was just like, absolutely, let's make it happen. And so moved out in October. And like, I guess I would only say I'm really back in the States right now because of COVID. If I could still be there, I was learning so much and getting hands-on experience that I was really excited about bringing back to the States and helping with the youth development. So that was been a lot of fun. And I just saw like the massive difference that it makes being able to get into the school system and get kids just even knowing what touch rugby is. I know that it's much more popular on the Gold Coast than it is here in the States, but like you still have to compete against league and rugby in Australia. And so like here, if we can get kids playing touch at a young age and in the classroom just with the ball in their hands, like why not?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure outside the COVID situation, if you ever want to come back, there'll be plenty of people who would put their hands up to host you as well. Tristan, fantastic man up there on the Gold Coast and in Queensland. But
Actually, yeah, a lot of my stuff is still there because I didn't plan on not being able to go back.
Fair enough.
So hopefully, fingers crossed, my application gets approved to come back pretty soon.
When the borders open. We've had another question come in. So for OJ, how is the referee development progressing in the US from Ivan Giamarco?
Ivan, thanks for that question. It's a work in process. Again, I think if I take it back to why we've gone for this juniors tournament to be separate is we need people to come and referee and give them a platform to practice in. So what our juniors does for us is allows us to start working on the coaching side of referee development. We have no coaches over here. So when we're lucky enough to get, Maddo over or Maya Williams come over and help and coach, they're kind of running around 4 different fields trying to catch every single game, which is impossible. So what our junior event does is give referees here an opportunity to come in and we just focus straight on them. And those are the people who are still playing the game. But from a development standpoint, we're trying to use technology to get some of our, key things that we want to work on from a refereeing standpoint is, position on the field, body position, best place to make a call, all those sorts of things. If we can roll that out to people on, Google Classrooms or things like that, that's what we're going to be moving forward with. But it's still a work in process, and trying to find referees is tough because rugby referees have a cakewalk compared to this sport. You're running the whole time up and down the field, so players don't want to do it. They're looking to slow down, but we know refereeing's harder than playing the game. So we're still working on it. We've just been blessed to have some people help us with that. Names I've mentioned, we've been lucky with that, but we're still working on it.
Yep, fair enough. And it is part of the sport that we really need to develop and tap into. As you said, it is a specialist. It's a specialist thing. It's one thing for a player to step in and referee, but when you get a quality referee, there is no doubt that the game flows a lot better and the players enjoy it. So he's come back there with us. Sounds promising. Good luck. So he liked that answer. Thanks, Ivan, for tapping in. And we've just had another comment too from Malaysia, from Amir. Developing coach and referees has always been a big challenge. It's also over there in Malaysia. So, yeah, you're not alone. And as we said, the development of referees is an area that is quite specialist. And we do have some people that you've tapped into there that are helping out with that process. So
we got hit by COVID. We had a women's camp planned for here in Phoenix in April.
Yep.
And we backed onto that a referee coaching, platform. It was going to be our first, so it's kind of pushed us back a little bit. But we understand that. Your points are exactly a good referee makes the game, and we learned that at the World Cup. As we had good results, you start getting the top referees on the games, and how much of a difference that makes. It can't be understated. So,
yep.
If we want to host the World Cup here, we know what we have to do on that side as well. We don't just want to do it just for the players or just for spectators or sponsorship. It's for the complete development. And so we have to have, 10, 20 referees good enough to ref at a World Cup if we want to, have it over here. So we've got some work cut out for us. But, we were lucky. We had 3 American developed referees that came to Malaysia. and I thought they did a good job. But they were developed inside here. They weren't expats. We'd had expats in previous tournaments, but the 3 we took to Malaysia were 100% developed here. So kind of proud of that, and we'll keep pushing from there.
Yeah, awesome. That's an awesome result. And you touched on there that you had some camps, pre-COVID. What are we talked about youth tournaments? Any opens events post? Plans for opens events?
Yeah, well, our nationals is always open. It's always open to everyone. Come over and play. We don't let them win the tournament because anyone who came in from somewhere else would probably easily win the tournament. Yep. And we want our people to win our own tournament. But our nationals is always open. And so are some of our events. If you can ever get out to the Rumble in the Concrete Jungle up in New York, it's a great event. Portland hosts an event. Our friends down in the Caymans host a great event. There's some good events that go around here, but our nationals is our premier event. It's always open to teams, and we're planning on doing that the first week of October. So October 1 through 3 here in Phoenix, Arizona is where the plan is at the moment, and we'll see how the restrictions lift as to whether that stays that way. But that's where we'll be this year, and next year Florida, and then 2022 will be in Nevada. All around the same time, first or second week of October. So we've locked in Florida for next year, and we're working on locking in Nevada for the year after, and we want to have that done in the next couple months. So got a 2-year plan always heading into those events. But it's always the same time. Anyone's welcome to come.
It's interesting that you mentioned those venues there. We had from the discussion we had about the hosting a World Cup. Simon's thrown up a comment there. Let's pick more hot venues for the World Cup. Can we go to Boston in the fall?
Yeah, I mean, Boston would be good. I mean, it depends on what time of the year. It all happens, but yeah, Boston would be a good one as well. We just don't have anything up in Boston at the moment.
Yeah, you really want to take it to somewhere that they're already playing the game. It makes sense.
Yeah, or there's an infrastructure to help out with hosting the event. So
absolutely.
I've never been to Boston, so maybe that's an option.
I like it. Spread the wings and go somewhere that we've never been before.
All right.
Yeah, my heritage is also from the States, even though I'm born and bred here. My grandfather was from Michigan.
Oh, awesome.
So yeah, it'd be great to get over there at some stage. And I've never been to Michigan. I've been to California and so forth, but it'd be great to get over there and be able to travel out afterwards. And I think that's another attraction of the US hosting it. It's what happens before and after the event as well, the opportunities that would be open to the participants. So as I said, nothing decided yet, mate, but fingers crossed. Let's hope the US can throw up a good bid. I know I can see Kaitlin nodding there. She'd be more than happy to have one in the backyard.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, that's we might wrap it up there. Thank you very much for joining us and giving us an insight into what's happening in touch in the US. Exciting times ahead, OJ. And I really do mean that sincerely, mate, that I wish you well with the bid that you put together. Because I know over here, talking to a lot of my friends here in Australia, the US is certainly an attractive place as a venue for a World Cup. But there's lots of places around the world that are going to put their hands up as well. So, good luck with that bid. But Kaitlin's been fantastic to have you on board, and we look forward to working you back to the Gold Coast once all of this calms down around the world. And we wish you both well.
Thank you.
Wish you both well moving forward with touch development in the USA. So thanks very much for joining me this morning.
Awesome. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. That is Touch in the USA. Another set of 6 wrapped up this week. We have plans to take you all around the world and looking forward to popping up somewhere around the world shortly, maybe even France. So let's wait and see. So thanks again for joining us. We look forward to bringing you more sets of 6 next week. Bye for now.